Most people think worm castings work because of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. But if nutrients were the secret, synthetic fertilizer would be unbeatable. Yet, gardeners, growers, and farmers keep coming back to worm castings, and we must ask ourselves, why? Well, it's simple, because worm castings don't feed the plants directly. They feed something far more important: the living microbial ecosystem in your soil. Today, we're diving into the invisible world inside worm castings: the bacteria, fungi, enzymes, and the biological processes that actually make plants thrive. No microscope required, no science degree needed. By the end of this video, you'll understand what microbes live in worm castings, what they actually do, why dead soil fails, and why fresh worm castings outperform almost anything else. Let's pull back the curtain, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy this wonderful ride. Now, here's the truth most people never hear. Healthy soil is a living organism itself. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil can contain billions of bacteria, thousands of fungal species, protozoa, nematodes, and microanthropods. Plants evolve with these organisms, not without them. In nature, plants don't get force-fed nutrients. Microbes, they break down the nutrients. Plants trade sugars for minerals. This underground exchange system is called the soil food web. And worm castings, well, they're one of the most powerful ways to rebuild that soil food web that you can possibly get from our environments. Worms aren't just eating waste, they are biological processors. As organic matter passes through a worm, it's mechanically ground in the gizzard. And yes, it's somewhat like a gizzard of a chicken. It's also saturated with enzymes. It's exposed to a warm, moist, oxygen-rich environment, inoculated with a plethora of beneficial microbes living inside the worms. And the worm guts act like a microbial reactor. When castings are expelled, they contain higher microbial diversity than the surrounding soil, microbes already adapted to plant-friendly conditions, and the compounds that stimulate microbial growth after the application. That is why castings are a biologically superior component than just composting alone. Now, let's break down the 3 major players in any great soil biome. The first is a beneficial bacteria. These are the workhorses of any soil. They will convert organic nitrogen into plant-available forms. They will solubilize the phosphorus, produce plant growth hormones, and try to outcompete the harmful pathogens. Some bacteria in castings, they actually signal the plant roots to grow more aggressively. That's not fertilizer, that's straight communication. The second culprit is the beneficial fungi. These fungi, they are often overlooked. Worm castings support fungi that improve nutrient transport. They stabilize that soil structure, and they help plants tolerate drought and stress. While castings aren't a replacement for full fungal dominant soils, they will kickstart fungal networks, especially in damaged or sterile soil. And the third, and importantly not least, part of this little biome is the protozoa and the micropredators. These organisms, they eat bacteria. It sounds bad, but I promise you, it's essential. When protozoa consume bacteria, they release nutrients in a plant available form, of course. This is called nutrient mineralization. Plants don't need more nutrients. They need the nutrients to be released at the proper time. That is the key to a great soil biome. Synthetic fertilizers, they skip biology class. They just dump nutrients into the soil and they force the plants to absorb them. This can cause things like weak root systems, salt buildup, of course, reduce microbial populations, and long-term soil degradation. Worm castings, they do the exact opposite. They will increase the microbial diversity. They will improve your nutrient efficiency. They will reduce nutrient runoff, and they will build long-term fertility. That's why soils fed biologically improve over time, instead of collapsing the minute they start getting too much salt-based synthetic nutrients into them. Now here's something absolutely wild. Plants don't just passively grow. They actually have immune systems. Beneficial microbes from the worm castings trigger systematic resistances in plants. They help the roots recognize what is a pathogen and what is a helpful nutrient. They create protective biofilms around root zones. This means plants grown with healthy microbial populations, they actually get sick less often. They recover faster from stress, and they resist pests much more effectively than a soil without anything in it. You're not just feeding your plants, you're training them when you give your plants worm castings, and that's one thing that you always want to do. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, why exactly does the fresh worm castings matter? And it's simple, really. The microbes, they're still very much so alive. They need moisture, oxygen, and moderate temperatures. Over time, these microbial populations, they will decline, and of course the diversity will also decrease, and the biological activity slows down. That's why fresh, properly stored worm castings outperform old, dry, shelf-stable products that just sit on these shelves in the stores. Fresh castings, they colonize soil faster. They will multiply more aggressively, and they create results sooner, which is really something anybody is looking for. Dead soil doesn't come back to life instantly, but fresh biology helps it recover sooner. Now here are some things if you want your microbes to thrive. There's some simple things you need to avoid and some things I'm going to encourage you to do. Now as far as things I want you to avoid, it's over-tilling, over-watering, excess synthetic salts, and letting the soil completely dry out. Now some things I will encourage is adding organic matter. Now what I mean by this is things like kelp meal, bone meal, things like that to encourage microbial activity. Mulch, of course, and ensure to give a gentle watering and always give a consistent feeding. Worm castings, they're not magic alone. They're part of a living ecosystem inside of your soil, so ensure that each part of it is getting exactly what it needs. Worm castings don't work because they are trendy. They work because they restore something simple modern growing has destroyed, and that is biology. When you add worm castings, you're not just feeding the plants. You are rebuilding an underground economy that plants rely on to survive. It's simple, really. A healthy soil plus healthy microbes will equal healthy plants. If this helped you understand why worm castings work, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your questions below. Next up, we'll go even deeper, because once you understand soil biology, you will never garden the same again. Have a great day, YouTube. Peace.